Hello, today we'll look at examples for parabolas. Alright, so here is some basic information on parabolas. We have some vertical parabolas, and the vertex form is y equals a times x minus h to the second power plus k, where the vertex is hk. The axis is x equals to h, and the rate, or sometimes this is the, or no, not sometimes, but this is also known as the focal length, is a. And so this also lets you know if the parabola is going to be pointing up or down. So if it's positive, it's pointing up. If it's negative, it's pointing down. And the vertex is that either that minimum point or the maximum point. For horizontal parabolas, are parabolas that are pointing to the right and the left. Instead of the differences is that here I have y, and here I have x. Here my y is to the power 2, here my x is to the power 2. So the difference is this is the x to the power 2, and it's the same vertex, hk is the vertex, but the values are switched around. The axis is y equals k instead of x equal k because it's shaped differently. And then the rate, or again the focal length, is a. So let's do an example. It says to identify the vertex. Now the way that we're going to identify the vertex is we're going to put it in vertex form, and we're going to put it in vertex form by completing the square. So in order to complete the square, I hope this is review for you. It should be. I have y equals x squared plus 16x. And I'm going to put my plus 64 over here because I know that I need to add more things. So I'm going to change my color. And my color does not want to change. Alright, so in order to complete the square, I need to divide my b number, which is 16, by 2, and then squared. So 16 divided by 2 is 8, and then squared is 64. So I'm going to add 64. I'm always going to add. Now, usually what I do, I have to keep my equations balanced, right? I can't just randomly add 64 here. So usually it's to the other side, but since I'm completing the square and it's on the same side, I need to balance it. So I'm going to instead subtract 64 over here. So now it's just like I added 0. So plus 64 and a negative 64. I've added 0. So let me change my color back to black. And so now I have y equals, this is a perfect square now. I have x plus the square root of 64 is 8 squared. And if you square this back out, you know, x plus 8 squared, or x plus 8 times x plus 8, you should get this x squared plus 16x plus 64. Alright, and then here I have 64 minus 64, so that's 0, so that cancels all the way out. And if you recall, just on the previous page, we gave the vertex form for the y equals 2, and it is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k, where h and k are the vertex. Alright, so here I have a plus 8, and here I have a minus 8, so that means that the x term is negative 8. So it's the opposite sign. And then here I have a k. There's nothing here, so that means that this has to be 0. So the vertex is negative 8, 0. Alright, let's do another one. We have y equals negative 3x squared plus 12x. And again, I'm completing the square because I want the vertex. So I'm going to pull this negative 10 over here. So again, in order to complete the square, I need to go ahead and divide this negative 3 here. So I'm going to do negative 3, pull it out, and I have x squared. When I divide negative 3 by positive 12, I get minus 4x. And then I still have that minus 10 out here. So now, I can complete the square. So I can divide 4 by 2. And even though it's a minus sign here, I know that 4 divided by 2 is still 2. 2 squared is 4. Okay. Now, here I have negative 3 times 4. So I can't forget that I'm multiplying by this negative 3. So negative 3 times 4 is negative 12 that I've added here. So I have to do the opposite, which is add 12. Right? So I have added a negative 12 here. So the opposite would be to add a positive 12 here. So now I have y equals negative 3. And I have x minus 2. And all I'm really doing is taking the square root of this last term here. And then negative 10 plus 12 is plus 2. And again, our vertex form is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. So, where my vertex is hk, so my vertex here is going to be 2, because this is my h value, it's both minus, and my k is 2. So my vertex is at 2, 2. Alright, so here's another one that asks me to graph the equation. I'm going to find the vertex, and then I am going to find the places where it crosses the x-axis. Okay, so those are the, hopefully, 3 points that I'll find. So, again, completing the square. So I have y equals x squared minus 2x, and I have a minus 3. Alright, so if I divide by 2, I get 1, and 1 squared is 1, so I'm going to add 1. So I have to do the opposite, so I'm going to subtract 1 from here. Okay? So I get y equals x, and I always take the sign that I have here. So this is a minus 1 squared, and then minus 4. So the vertex is going to be 1, negative 4. So I'm going to go over here to my graph, and that's my vertex, and that is 1, negative 4. So there is my point. I know it's pointing up because my A, well, here my A is positive, so it's pointing up. That's according to the chart that I gave you before. Now let's factor this, and that's against a review for us. We should know how to factor. So I have negative 3. The factors of negative 3 that add to negative 2 will be negative 3 and 1. So that's going to give me y equals x minus 3 and x plus 1. According to the zero product property, I set that equal to 0. So that's going to give me x minus 3. And 0 is equal to x plus 1. So that means the places where this crosses the x-axis, if I solve this, will give me x equal to 3 and x equals negative 1. So I'm going to go over here. X equals negative 1 is one of my points here. And x equal to 3 is the other point here. And so now, please forgive me, I know it's going to be messy. Here's my parabola. Alright, so here's another in-depth look of the different parts of a parabola. We have x minus h squared, and it's very similar to the one we showed before. The x is squared, but instead I have the y equal to on the other side. And it says if p is positive, the parabola opens up. If p is negative, the parabola opens down. The vertex is hk, just like it was before. The focus, though, and that's that equal point in my parabola, is h, k plus p, and the directrix is y equals k minus p. And the same information for the horizontal parabola. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and go on because these are just examples and not an actual lesson. Alright, so it says find the vertex, focus, directrix, and focal width of the parabola. So I'm going to So I went ahead and copied and pasted this information here for us so that we can use it. I see that it is x squared, so it has to be a vertical parabola. I can easily see from this that my vertex has to be 0, 0, right? Because I'm not adding an h, I'm not adding a k, so it has to be 0. The focus is h plus k plus p. So if the focus is h k plus p, I know that my k is 0. I'm sorry. First of all, I know that 4 times p is equal to my 28. And that's just looking at the formula here. And so that means that my p, because I divide by 4 on both sides, have to be 7. So then my focus has to be 0, and then 0 plus 7, or 0, 7. The directrix is y equals k minus p, and I plug in what I have. My k is 0, my p is 7, so that's -7. And then the focal width, we've already talked about, is just that a value that we have here. So that would be the 28. So that means A is the correct answer. All right, let's try another one. We're finding all the same things. This time I have the horizontal. And why do I have the horizontal? Because my y is squared this time. Again, my vertex is 0, 0. That's pretty easy to see because I'm not adding anything to my x or my y. I know that 4p is, I don't have anything in front of my x, so I need to actually divide this. So instead, I'm going to divide by 8. I have 1/8 x equals y squared. And so now it looks like this equation. So 4p equals 1/8. So that means p has to equal 1/32. So that means my focus is 0 plus 1/32, comma 0, which is 1/32, comma 0. The directrix is just the negative, right? So the directrix is just x. It's 8. It's actually 0 minus 1/32, which is equal to -1/32. And then the focal, we can already see that the answer is D. But that focal width would be just my value here, which is 1/8. They put 0.13, which rounds from 0.125. All right, it says find the standard form of the equation of the parabola. So again, I know that it is vertical just because of the focus that they gave me. The focus was at 0,9. When the focus is at 0,9, I know that this is what I'm changing here. So my vertex is 0, 0, because it's the origin. So I don't really need to put anything there, but I can plug it into the equation. So that's going to be x minus 0 squared equals, now I need to find out what p is. And so p is k plus p is equal to 9. I know that from this part here. And so I'm running out of time. I can get through it. So that's 0 plus p equals 9. So I know not p is equal to 9. And so if I plug that in, that is 4 times 9, and y minus 0, and hopefully